still feel it. That heat. It's the first thing that slapped me in the face when that hatch finally gave way. You gotta understand, the Kazakh steppe in the pre-dawn, it's a godforsaken, brutal place. But when I cracked that charred, stinking metal bell open, this wave of living warmth just rolled out. Human warmth. It felt like some kind of sick joke from the universe. I stuck my head into that narrow gap, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I was expecting to hear Dobrovolsky cussing me out for being late, or maybe Volkov laughing his head off about the bumpy ride and the dust. But it was quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your ears ring, you know? In the dim, shaky light of our flashlights, I saw them. They were just sitting there in their seats, strapped in tight, like they'd just drifted off during a long, exhausting shift. Georgie's head was tilted to the side, resting on his shoulder. Vladislav was staring straight ahead, looking right through the instrument panel. And Victor, man, my friend Victor, his hand was just hanging there, limp. And on his wrist, I saw it. My gift. That old mechanical watch. It was still ticking. That damn second hand was just marching along, steady as a heartbeat, while the heart of the man wearing it had stopped cold minutes ago. Their faces, they had these dark, ugly purple splotches. A thin, dry trail of blood sat at the corner of their mouths. I pressed my trembling fingers to Victor's neck and, God, he was still warm. The vacuum had snatched him so fast, so clean, that their bodies hadn't even realized they were dead yet. We won the damn space race, all right. We beat the world. But looking into that capsule, I realized we'd just built the world's most expensive vacuum chamber for our best friends. It all started with pride, I guess. That's the real poison. Back in June of '71, we felt like gods at Baikonur. 23 days on orbit, the world's first space station, Salyut 1. The papers were screaming about the red triumph. But us? We just wanted them home so we could finally grab a drink. I remember the night before the launch. Me and Viktor Petsayev, we were sitting on the edge of this massive concrete slab, sharing a bitter smoke, watching the rockets sway in the spotlight beams like some prehistoric beast. Victor, he's fiddling with that watch I gave him, a piece I'd spent months fixing up. And he looks at me with those tired, smart eyes and says, "Arthur, you sure about this hunk of junk? It's cramped in there, man. Like a kitchen cupboard in a basement." I just laughed. I was the lead engineer. I knew every screw, every weld. I told him, "Victia, this machine is more reliable than your watch. It won't let you down. When you get back, I'm buying the best cognac in Moscow. That's a promise." God, if I'd only known. If I'd known that reliability ends where some bureaucrat's ego begins. I was in that meeting, you know? I saw the blueprints. They wanted 3 guys in that capsule. But 3 guys in full spacesuits? They don't fit. Not even if you fold them. So the big brains in the high offices decided, suits are dead weight. We have a schedule to keep. Why bother with bulky suits if the cabin is guaranteed airtight, right? We literally ripped out the heavy life support and the oxygen tanks just to cram in a 3rd seat. We traded their lives for a damn headline. I argued for an hour until they told me to shut up or find a new job. I shut up. And that's the ghost that sits on my chest every night. I closed that hatch myself. I checked the seal, felt the rubber under my thumbs. When that Soyuz lifted off, it felt like a piece of my own soul was being ripped out and thrown into the black. 23 days, we heard him over the radio. Amber 1, Amber 2, Amber 3. They argued about the burnt smell from the vent. They laughed. They did their biology experiments. They were legends. Real, breathing, sweating legends. And I sent them up there in their pajamas. The nightmare, the real horror, happened at 168 kilometers up. That's the edge of the world, man. The thin, invisible line between heaven and absolute nothingness. See, the plan was simple, mechanical. After the braking burn, the descent module has to break away from the rest of the ship so it can fall back to Earth. We use these pyro bolts for that. 12 little sticks of dynamite that cut the steel tethers. But physics doesn't give a damn about your plans or your metals. That's the blueprint decay right there. The moment the drawing fails reality. Instead of firing one by one in a sequence, like they were designed to, all 12 of those bolts went off at the exact same millisecond. It wasn't just a pop. It was a massive, violent sledgehammer blow to the entire hull. That shockwave, it traveled through the metal frame like a lightning strike. And it hit this one tiny, stupid valve. A ventilation valve no bigger than a silver coin. Its only job was to open near the ground to let in fresh air. But that kick, that violent shudder from the pyro bolts, it knocked the internal seal right out of its socket. And it opened. It opened wide into the black, freezing, hungry vacuum of space. The pressure inside started screaming out at 10 millimeters of mercury per second. They didn't have a prayer. Not a single chance. 0.06 seconds after the separation, they heard it. That whistle. This high, thin, mocking hiss of their life's breath just vanishing into the void. The blueprint said it couldn't happen. The metal said otherwise. Those were the longest 115 seconds of my life, even if I was just sitting in a warm chair at mission control, staring at a silent screen, wondering why the hell the radio went dead. Inside that capsule, it was a goddamn slaughterhouse of physics. The second that pressure dropped, the cabin filled with this thick, ghostly white mist. It's a trick of the atmosphere, all the moisture in the air, the sweat from their brows, their very breath, it just flash froze. It was like being trapped inside a frozen cloud. The temperature plummeted to 0, then way below. Victor, he was the hero. He reacted first. We found his fingers later. I still see him in my dreams. They were shredded, man. Deep gouges, raw meat. He'd lunged under the instrument panel, desperately trying to find where that hellish hiss was coming from. He was trying to crank that valve shut by hand, but he was fighting a hurricane. He didn't have time. Vacuum decompression, it's not like the movies. It's a special kind of sadistic. First thing that happens, your eardrums just pop, like a balloon inside your skull. Boom! The world goes silent. Then the nitrogen in your blood starts turning into bubbles. Your blood literally begins to boil while it's still in your veins. They call it ebullism. It's not a hot boil, it's a cold one. And it's agonizing. It bloats your tissues, tears the capillaries in your eyes until the whites turn deep red. They tried to breathe, but their lungs were just pumping out emptiness, collapsing in their chests. Dobrovolsky was gasping, trying to reach over to help Victor, but hypoxia, it's a thief. It shuts your brain off faster than you can even process the terror. After 50 seconds, their hearts started to skip, struggling to pump thick, bubbling foam instead of blood. At 110 seconds, the pulse was gone. All of them. Total silence. But the capsule didn't care. The automation, that cold iron bitch we built to be perfect, it just kept on going. It deployed the parachute right on time. It fired the soft landing engines like a pro. It delivered 3 warm bodies to us in a perfect charred metal package. When we finally dragged them out onto the dry grass, the smell was metallic, like ozone and burnt hair. I started doing CPR on Victor, screaming like a lunatic. I knew it was useless. I could hear his ribs crunching under my hands. I saw those bloodshot, staring eyes, but I couldn't stop. I was howling at him. Victia, the watch! Your watch is still going, you hear me? You can't leave yet, get up! The soldiers, kids who'd never seen a dead man, they had to physically pull me off him. I sat in the dirt and watched them cover my friends with tarps. Then came the big show. Red Square. Leaders in heavy coats with stone faces. Long speeches about sacrifice for the motherland and eternal heroism. They buried him in the Kremlin wall like they were part of the masonry. And me? I went back to the drawing board. We redesigned the whole damn thing. Now only 2 guys fly, and they never ever go up without suits. We added manual valves you can close in a heartbeat. We fixed the mistake. We patched the blueprint. But every night I go home to this quiet, lonely apartment. And when the wind whistles through a crack in the window frame, I jump. My heart stops. Because that sound, it reminds me that we're just fragile bags of water and bone hanging onto a thin sheet of metal in a place we were never meant to be. We conquered the stars, sure, but we lost everything to a tiny 10-cent valve. I look at my watch, it's ticking, quietly, just like the one on Victor's wrist when he was falling through the infinite blackness. Already gone, already cold. Space isn't evil, Arthur. It's just empty. And it's always waiting for the next tiny hole in your perfect plan.
Every blueprint decays. Subscribe before yours does.